We're going to rebuild the tine and see how good we can match it with the rest of the antlers. A lot of times in a dark house, it's not going to show as much as it would like in a bright building, which I have a bright building on purpose so I can paint my fish and do detail work and stuff. But like inside a dark house or something, you might be able to make it where you can't really realize it too good. Okay, we're going to build up a tine on this rack right here. So I'm going to make it about as long as that one. I just eyeball it. You know, usually you can tell just by looking. And what I usually like to do is I'll Dremel a hole down so far, and then I'll epoxy in a piece of wire. And that wire will be the foundation on which I build the epoxy sculpt up. And it's what I build my tine with. And the epoxy sculpt I use, I guess white is the best. Yeah, you're supposed to use white. I ordered something that wasn't exactly white, but it wasn't exactly the natural color either. Like, there's a natural color. It's really kind of a dark gray. Well, this is close enough to white that it works pretty good. I don't know if maybe it's bone or something, but it's not white. It didn't even say white on the packaging. So I'm not really sure what color it is, but it's a lot more whiter than the original. You know, the original had a lot of dark gray to it. But I'll Dremel right down there at the center, center where the antler was. I'll Dremel a hole for my wire. I'll zoom in here for a second and let you look at it. And we're going to glue a wire down in there, and I'll show you. And we'll build the epoxy sculpt around the wire. This is just like a test fit, and I want the other wire to do kind of the same thing as what the tine done. It looks like it came maybe over here just a hair, about right to here. I'll stick with about that right there. And I like the way it looks from the side. From the front, I think I'm going to go with, I'm going to eyeball it. I'm going to go straight across, just eyeballing it to about right there. That looks pretty good. See, I want it to be even with the other one, but I don't want to get outrageous. But a lot of times I will kind of balance one out if I can by doing this. I go right there with it. Once you make a mark and you're satisfied with where it's going to be, then you just cut it. Pair of wire cutters. Okay, here's what we got, our finished wire. It just goes into the hole like, well, like so forth. You just take it as far down as you can because you dremeled it. And when I glue it, that's a little bit too big, I think. Yeah, it is. I'm going to cut about maybe a half inch off. Cut maybe a half inch off of it, make it line up with the other one. I get a little piece of cardboard. Definitely not going to take much. I've got my two-part epoxy here. This stuff works pretty good. This is JB Weld. And here's the hardener. Which really, that's all you need right there. That's already too much. Just like mixing Bondo, except it's not Bondo, it's something else. And then we got epoxy steel resin. That's what they call it. And that's all I need of that. About 2 equal parts. And get a popsicle stick. Mix it up real good. And it sets up fairly quick, you know. It surprised me how fast it quit set up. Mixed it up real good. Well, actually, it's probably better to get some along the length of this, starting right at the bottom. Yeah, that's more than enough right there. This stuff is stout for sure. So I got it right here. Then of course you want to make sure you match it up real good. Going down in that hole, you want to make sure you match them up good. And then, of course, I'll have to hold him for a little while. Till it dries, epoxy sculpt, you'll probably use Bondo, probably use anything. Okay, it's still drying right now, but I figure we look at it. Here's kind of what I got for the spread. It seems to look okay. See how it's coming out. I'll let that JB Weld epoxy do its thing. It's the JB Weld epoxy. I don't know what the setup time is on it exactly. It's been a while since I had the packaging, but it's quick. So what I got here, I got my epoxy sculpt. I got 2 parts. Now here again, I want to use this white stuff up on top. That's the natural color of the stuff I used to get, and this is it wasn't white on the box, but it's white enough where it may actually be better than the solid white epoxy sculpt. So that being said, I'll get about 2 equal parts between this and that to rebuild the tine, and I've got them together. It's actually a real good color for the antlers. I just use water. If it was like modeling work around the eyes and stuff, I tend to use lacquer thinner instead of water, because I just don't like water on things that are supposed to be finished out and dry. I don't like using water to mix in the modeling compound to finish it out, is what I'm getting at. Lacquer thinner dries real quick and it thins this epoxy sculpt out really good. So I heard of people using heat and everything else, but this is the way to go. Just mix it real good, and it's already kind of a good match. The base color will be pretty close. And that's what the taxidermy supply companies recommend, is start it with a good close color, which they do have different colors. It's not all just one color as far as the epoxy sculpt. It's got several different colors. So there we are. Just keep mixing it. Kind of mix it up pretty good. And I'm going to kind of roll it like you do clay or anything, just kind of roll it out. And I probably got more than I need, which is good. And then I just kind of push it in and go around that needle, or around the wire, I mean. And then I kind of just bend it around and start working it in. Push it down, make sure I got enough at the base. And yeah, definitely got too much, but that's the way it goes. I do that a lot. Try to think a little bit three-dimensionally, a little bit when you're looking at it. definitely got too much on there. I want it to mesh up with the broken part of the tine. I want it to mesh up real good with that. And so I'll just sculpt it in, do the best I can on this side. And you'll have to look at it from multiple angles, which you gotta get. Definitely got too much on here. I'm gonna look at it from the rear. Look at it from back here. There's where the break started, was right there. And bring some of this down. You want it to round off like the natural part of the point, you know, before he broke. So, you know, try to do that. I definitely got too much on here, so some of this is coming off. Let's see, about that much anyway. Okay, here we are. And even more than that will come off, I'm sure. Okay, I want it to naturally come off the antler tip, make it look as natural as possible. Still got way too much on there, I think. When you look at it from this side, we got a lot right here that could come off. Okay, right here, I got a little bit of way too much there. So I don't care to cut it off, whatever I gotta do. And unfortunately, now you can make stuff like little mushrooms for habitat and stuff with this stuff. I mean, you don't have to throw it away. You can make habitat with it, like mushrooms, junk like that. I'll show you that a little bit later too. And then later on, when you gotta do a habitat or something, you've got some wild mushrooms to put in on it. So, yeah, even though it's not hard, I am doing a little bit of sculpting right now, you know, with it still being dry. I'm just helping with the process, you know. And then when I'm done with it, all the angles are going to point to it being a, you know, really good looking tip. So, you know, that's not overly thick and all that bad stuff. See what we got from there. Put all this stuff together. Okay, from here, looks a little bit too much from here, definitely, so I'll come in and work on getting it out. Okay, it's coming off slowly but surely, and then I'll just round it off and put some grooves in it, and I'll show you how to do that. Starting to look fairly good. Still a little too thick in comparison to that one. I want them to be about the same thickness. I don't want it to be, you know, like have one thick point when all the others are relatively thin. So we don't want to go down that road if we can keep from it. So let me see what I got. Of course, it could have been a real big point. It looked like would have been the biggest point on the whole deer, and it was the one that was broke off. So that makes sense, you know, because it would protrude out a little bit further, you know, when his head's down. So it would definitely get a lot of the impact. So I could see that sometimes the biggest and the one that sticks out the farthest may be the one that's going to get broke first. Of course, you know, they can lose the whole rack. I've seen them do that before. But, okay, let me smooth me down and see what we got here. And so I'll just try to match him up three-dimensionally as good as I can. Don't want it super perfect, you know, but like if there's like a little ridge line coming off the main beam, you might want to incorporate that into the, you know, incorporate that into the tine itself to make it look like it's, you know, original, like it's coming off the main beam, you know. Like there's a little place where it comes up, scoops up right here, and yeah, you definitely want that to match up if you can get it to do that. So, and you know, it's not abnormal for them to have little nooks and crannies in them, you know, although real minute, kind of small, it will have little streaks and stuff in them, you know. So. I'm trying to streak him up a little bit, trying to make him uniform, don't want him looking too odd. See how that looks so smooth? Of course, this time would be a little bit thicker. Knowing the general anatomy of antlers, you know, the way the tips tend to grow and how some will tend to be bigger than others, can help you doing stuff like this. But it wasn't a super big deer, that's for sure. Yeah, it's still way too thick here. I'd rather do it like this and work it down and get it looking good than some of these other ways out there that I can be doing it. So, let's see. Okay, right here it kind of scoots around. I may take some of that off. Get that to match up real good. That's looking pretty good on this side though. It sure is. Okay. Maybe some off from here. A little more. There we are. Starting to look a little bit better. Let's see what we got here so far. That's looking pretty good. Let's see. Almost. Getting where I kind of like him. I like the base of him, but like around the midsection up through here, he's still a little bit thick. So I'll take a lot of this off. And the good thing it's soft, so you can do this stuff, you know, while he's soft. This is getting where he's looking about like the other one. Yeah, he needs these tines right at the tip, they tend to get really pointy. You know, not so thick and built up, you know. So this is where it needs to be coming off, like right up here. Yeah. Like that. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Let's see from the back. Looking pretty good. Oops, can't do that. Okay. Alrighty. Well, I like how that looks, pretty much like that. Using this one for a base, of course he's wider this way than he is. He's going to be, yeah, that looks pretty good. I may cut a little bit more off this tip here, just to make it look thinner. Okay, I'm gonna get my water. I'm still in the camera good. Oh, plenty good, plenty good. Get my water and smoothing down a little bit. In here. I want the point. Guess I'm going to make the point look about like the point on the other one. So here we are, and that's a pretty good match. That's a pretty good match. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to go with that. May not be perfect, but I may take a little bit more of the thickness off right here. A little bit more right there. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm tickled with that. Actually, leaving some of these ridges does not look bad. Just don't want to get too carried away. Although the original antler is kind of smooth. So some of it depends on the deer. Some deer are rough looking. You know, they got that really rough looking thing that goes with them. You know, the antler itself. But he's looking pretty good. Let's see, they cut a little bit more off there. Don't want him looking too thin. Let me put that back on. Okay. Okay, looking pretty good. Okay. Now, a lot of times, well, it depends on the deer and which time you're doing even. It seems like on the, like the front, like the G1s or whatever, sometimes it could be any time, but a lot of times they got a lot of grooves and stuff. And what I'll do is I'll just get a wet Q-tip and start putting little streaks and make the point look a little bit more realistic. That looks pretty good already, though, of course. But okay, I like that. I'm gonna stick with this pretty soon. Actually, that looks pretty good. It's got its grooves already a little bit, which is fine. That's natural looking. But you can see how I kind of come off the antlers, make it look a little bit more natural. So I kind of did have to make it look more natural. But I'm tickled. I think this is what I'm going to go with. But I'll show you, like if it's a G1 or something, I'll show you what I'd use. I grab like my Q-tips and you'll cut a little stent. Looks like there's a little bit of that going on here. I get just like a Q-tip and I'll start running some streaks up in there. And this one had one coming up through here, looks like. Definitely up through here a little bit. And then right through here, maybe a little bit. Okay, you can move that stuff around a little bit, make little ridges and stuff, and you can make it look pretty good by doing that. There's one that came up through here, looks like. Okay. But it was actually a pretty smooth looking guy. You know, maybe some of the stuff going up through here a little bit. Yeah, that looks really good right there. I kind of like that. I think I'm going to let him sit and get back to you a little bit later when we're going to paint him. And, just make sure you get that stuff off where you don't want it. Okay, grab some paper towels, maybe get some of that stuff off where it don't need to be. I run that too when I'm bonding antlers to the form. A lot of times I run into having that stuff where it don't need to be, you know, it just happens. Now what we're going to do later, we're going to replicate all these dark grooves by putting stain on it. A little bit of stain, and that will help things out quite a bit. So, you know, like the antlers, they definitely have like dark grooves. You can see them a little bit, and so we'll replicate some of that stuff. And in the meantime, I'll clean up some of this stuff. It should come right off right now. But I'll work on cleaning that stuff up and I'll get back with you. Okay, now here's the excess stuff we got. You know, if it's not a lot, you probably don't want to worry too much about it, but let me soften it back up here. But like, yeah, for habitats like mushrooms and stuff like that, you can't beat epoxy sculpt. This stuff comes in handy for a lot of things, like rebuilding, like maybe a coffee cup that has a broke handle or something. They use this stuff even. So it's got some durability to it. So basically just mixing some water in here, and this is the 2-part epoxy sculpt. But okay, first I'm going to make a worm. If I can here. The gloves are a little bit slick from and looks pretty good. Bite a little bit off right there. And of course you make a base like this, and then of course you can make a ball out of this and just flatten it down, and flatten it down real good like this. And then you put him on top, and voila, you have you a mushroom. And then you just lay him somewhere and let him dry. Pop him up somewhere in the corner or something. It'll make a fine mushroom. Fine mushroom. May want to go down. I don't know exactly what you call it, but that top, the bell of it, you can, you make it down a little bit better. Probably do a better job than this. I wonder what brush strokes would do as far as realism or whatever, but there you go, a little bit of a mushroom. And then put him somewhere in the corner and we'll let him dry. I'm going to attempt to paint this Antler Tine, and I just have to think a little bit about how I'm going to do it. But debating on whether to put a little bit of something dark and then some bright over it, or just go from light to dark, like is what I do on a lot of fishes and stuff. When I paint them, go from the lightest color to the darkest color. But not always. Sometimes you gotta have like a base color. So I'm debating. I guess I could try something like maybe a little bit of rich brown or something, then maybe some white or something, and then some flesh. Sometimes antlers have a little bit of a fleshy color. Not much, but anything I do, I'm going to have to go light with it to have a decent result. So I'm going to get started. A little bit of rich brown here. I'm just kind of curious to see what it look like with a little bit of rich brown over it. I probably don't want to go much darker than that, really. Okay. It's about right almost like it is. See what we got. Well, no. Quite a bit of difference. Well, that's as close as I can get with that. Let me see what else I can do. Gotta try to lighten it up. See if I can get it to match the rest of these antlers a little bit. And I think my best bet would be Just kind of lighten it back up. Which is always better to go light to dark than dark to light. It just always works out better. Okay. Well, at least it's lighter. It's lighter than even the other antlers. Now let me see what I'll do. Well, depending on the antler, you might want to use a little yellow or something, but I'm not going to on this one. I'm just going by what I visually see. It looks pretty close already, kind of. But I've got some real watered down antler stain. And I mean, it's watered down. Well, it's not been shook up very good. And it's just a little antler stain. Not going to go heavy with it. Just a little bit. I want to get into any kind of grooves I got in there. And there is some grooves. Well, you can still tell it right here though, unfortunately. Places where I don't want it, I want to make sure I get it off. Let's see. A little bit more right in there. It's a very watered down antler stain, of course. Well, it's hard to hide it though, that's for sure. Hard to hide where it's been connected. But we'll work on that. Leave that for a bit. Let that dry a little bit and go back to it. You can always use a little water and get it to come right back off. Okay, I put another coat on there. This antler stain, sometimes you got to put it on a couple of times. It's a little bit too dark, but the good thing is you can always take some of it back off because it's just a little bit of water will take it back off. So we're going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'll lightly go over it with a paper towel and get some of the droplets off. I got a little paper towel here. I'm going to see what I can do as far as just the ends, you know, not, I don't want to get carried away, but a lot of times the brightest part of a deer is right here on the end, you know. Plus get some of those streaks off of it that don't need to be on there. Especially here on the ends. See what we got here. Oh gosh, hard to get it to match. It really is. Recording. Recording. Okay, I'll keep hammering away out of here. Let's see, there should be a little bit on the brush here. Yeah. I know it's a lot darker than what it's supposed to be, but my goal is to camouflage, and I may have to go back in with paint. Get this. But my goal is to try to get this good as I can. If I can let stain do it, I'll be tickled. But of course, if some of you guys got a better idea, let me know in the comments. If you got like a Q-tip kind of rubbing on the ends here, maybe getting some, bringing out some of the natural color to make it look better. You know, the tips tend to be the brightest. So probably use a little bit of water to do better. Get some of this off, but it's coming off anyway. And that's kind of what we got there. Well, that's kind of what I got. Not perfect. From the front, you can get a view of it. It's, you still tell it's been put on there, though. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to try something else here. Try a little bit of maybe rich brown or something. Okay. Thinking, hoping I could maybe hit it from an angle or something. That's might be making it worse, looks like. Maybe not. That's what I kind of got. So it looks like from the side. Okay. That looks pretty good anyway, really, actually. Oh, that looks pretty good. Oh, well. Well, here's what I kind of got. Looks fairly good. Luckily, these paints are made to kind of mimic Mother Nature a little bit. So it does kind of help as far as being able to, you know, the colors of Mother Nature, they're made that way. That's why the paints work so good. Let's see. I think I'll leave it about like that. Just add a little bit of something extra there on the end. Make it look a little bit more realistic. A little on the inside here. There's just a little bit of water on this napkin. It's kind of damp. The tip, definitely want to get it pretty light if I can. But just the tip, you know, to make it match the other ones. Okay, the good thing is, like in a dark room, like in people's houses, it'll even be less noticeable. You know, I got it real bright in here, and that's why you're gonna be able to make out a lot of it stuff. But I don't know, it's about as good as I can do. If y'all have any ideas or suggestions, let me know in the comments. Okay, got a little bit of napkin, tried to wipe off a little bit more right there. I guess I could also throw a little bit more paint back on it if I needed to. You figure on a dark wall, it's not going to show real bad. So let me know if y'all have any good ideas or suggestions.